Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about 10 must-have games for the PlayStation 1. By today's standards, it's hard to articulate how impressive and relevant Tekken 3 was upon its release way back in 1998. Hot off the heels of Tekken 2, the third outing upped the ante and introduced us to a bucket load of new characters, as well as new systems that expanded upon the gameplay of its predecessor. Originally released in the arcades, to see this game running on the PlayStation hardware was truly an impressive sight. Every move, combo and character made the transition, as well as a few extras that were not present in the arcade release. To this day, Tekken 3 still holds up and offers the player a robust fighting experience that is sure to keep you coming back round after round. And as well as offering your standard arcade and multiplayer options, the game introduces many new modes into the mix that redefined what a fighting game could be. The Tekken Force mode, which would see you fighting through waves of enemies, was a breath of fresh air for the series, as well as the volleyball mode, which is just balls out fun and one of the best multiplayer modes I've ever played. When standing next to Tekken 2, it's easy to see the amount of love that went into this game, and as a result, in my opinion, it is the definitive 3D fighter for the system. And if on the odd chance you have still not managed to play this one, I highly recommend you check it out and see what all the fuss was about. Vagrant Story is a dark and atmospheric RPG that possesses one of the most engaging combat systems I have ever had the pleasure of experiencing. When compared to other RPGs released by Square for the PlayStation, Vagrant Story stands out as something truly unique, and the way in which it handles battling really contributes to this notion. As you progress and acquire new skills, your combos get progressively stronger and more interesting by adding several abilities into the mix that will help you deal extra damage and even drain some of the enemy's HP, for example. The game relies heavily on the equipment you are carrying and is all the more meaningful thanks to the equipment combination system that allows you to combine your various weapons and transform them into better versions to take with you on your journey. This all adds up to make one of the most intricate and customizable attributes of the game, and in my opinion is one of the game's best characteristics. Story-wise, as you would expect from any old school Square RPG, it is all on point and is one of the more memorable narratives on the system. Vagrant Story is a game that deserves a place on your shelf. Go and pick it up. Gran Turismo 2 offers quite essentially the definitive driving experience available on the original PlayStation. It expands upon nearly every aspect that made the original so great and presents it with style and confidence. With the huge amount of cars and tracks at your disposal, it is one of those games that you will lose what feels like a lifetime to. But if you're looking for a fun, pick up and play racer, you will not find that here. Instead, I would suggest looking at the Ridge Racer series for the more arcade inclined racing fans among you, as Gran Turismo 2 is a game that requires a lot of patience and skill in order to play it efficiently. That's not to say you will not have fun, but just expect to be crashing all over the place on your first couple of races until you can get to grips with the realistic handling. There are two main modes when entering the game, one being the arcade option that allows you to freely choose which vehicle you would like to use and get straight to the track. But where the game really shines is within its simulation mode that requires you to earn driving licenses by passing several tests that introduce the various mechanics behind the driving, as well as having to pay for your own vehicles and earn trophies in order to unlock new courses. Gran Turismo 2 is a spectacular game and stands as one of the most visually impressive PlayStation games to boot. It really deserves a place in everyone's collection. Developed by Konami and released in 1998, Silent Hill is one of the finest survival horror games around. To this day, playing this game is still a truly nail-biting experience and is sure to stick with you long after the credits have rolled. In all honesty, I had trouble playing this game back in the day due to it being so goddamn freaky. Admittedly, some aspects of the game have not aged that well, especially the controls and visuals, but due to the many fond memories I have playing this, for me it's easy to look over these concerns. Silent Hill does a great job in building tension. It plays with your imagination, and half the battle is getting over the anxiety of pushing the narrative forward, all the while avoiding the monsters that plague the adventure. It manages to separate itself from the likes of the Resident Evil series by letting the action take a backseat and opting for a more psychological approach that will likely chill you to the bone. If you've been living in a cave for nearly 20 years and have not had the opportunity to experience this wonder of a game, it's now available on the PlayStation Store, as well as the option of physically acquiring the game or even emulation. now is the perfect time to immerse yourself in the strange world of Silent Hill. Street Fighter Alpha 2 is the sequel to Capcom's Street Fighter Alpha reboot. Branching off from the wildly successful Street Fighter 2 series, the Alpha games sure had big shoes to fill at the time, and in such a competitive era of the fighting game genre, also had something to prove. Thankfully, Street Fighter Alpha 2 was a much bigger and more colourful game than its predecessor. It provided Street Fighter fans with exactly what they wanted: more characters, more moves, and more balanced gameplay, as well as adding in a few new mechanics to the mix, such as the custom combo system, which would see your character chaining together their own combos made from a combination of special and normal moves. If you're looking for some fighting goodness on the original PlayStation, look no further. I am a big Final Fantasy fan, and having played pretty much every game in the series, I can say Final Fantasy IX is truly one of the greatest out of the bunch. The story is great and presented very well. You take control of Zidane, whose journey is riddled with many interesting characters and situations as you make your way through the visually impressive world of Gaia. The game is challenging yet rewarding. There are hundreds if not thousands of spells and abilities your characters can learn. There is a lot of content in this game. It will take you a good 30 to 40 hours to beat, and there are many secrets to get afterwards that are worth doing that adds even more replay value. Squaresoft did so many things right in the PlayStation 1 era, and Final Fantasy IX really feels like a culmination of all that was learned along the way. This has to be my go-to Castlevania game whenever the subject of the series is brought up, and for many reasons, but mainly due to it being the first in the franchise that I sank a considerable amount of time into. Symphony of the Night was the first in the series to break away from its action platforming roots and instead emphasize the need for exploration. Pulling many comparisons to Super Metroid, the game is one of the most successful titles for the system, and in my opinion the best in the series. You take the role of Alucard as you explore every inch of Dracula's castle and encounter an incredible amount of enemies that manage to keep you on your toes throughout the duration of the adventure. As for the castle itself, it is absolutely huge, and with each location feeling unique, it's an absolute blast exploring the entire area and uncovering the many secrets that dwell within. Previous games in the series allocated the whip to the player as their main form of attack, but with Symphony of the Night a lot more weapons were added, such as nunchucks, as well as to adorn Alucard with various abilities, such as a double jump that were unlocked upon finding the many relics that litter the environment. Bushido Blade is well known for its unforgiving style of play. All it takes is one hit of a sword to emerge victorious, and in my opinion the game is all the better for it. Bushido Blade revolves around one-on-one battles in an open arena, but where this game differs from the many other fighting games of the time is the way in which each battle plays out. There is no HUD, no life bar, no timer, and with the inclusion of something called the body damage system, it introduced many new strategic ways in which to overcome your opponent. This damage system was truly innovative for the time, and would affect your character's speed, attacks, and stance during each battle due to an enemy damaging a specific body part. Slashing your opponent's legs would cause them to crawl along the ground, and a hit to the hand would result in them not being able to hold their weapon correctly. With 7 characters to choose from, as well as a variety of weapons that all affect the gameplay, you are guaranteed to have a blast, especially in the multiplayer mode, which holds some truly special memories for myself of playing this game with my brother growing up, and the many arguments we had due to him always kicking my ass. All in all, Bushido Blade is a pretty unique fighter, but if you possess enough patience, you will find one of the PlayStation's most enjoyable games. Resident Evil 2 is the greatest thing to ever come out of Capcom's famous zombie franchise. Combining a chilling atmosphere with solid story and gameplay design, it truly is an unforgettable experience. Taking place in the fictional American town of Raccoon City, the game opens in the aftermath of a zombie outbreak, and things quickly begin to spiral into a web of conspiracy, mystery, and intrigue. My favourite aspect of Resident Evil 2 has to be the journals and notes that you can find throughout the environments that add an extra layer of context to the game's world and events that really helps paint a picture of a bleak situation in the most human way possible. All in all, Resident Evil 2 took what the original started and expanded upon it in many ways. If you like solving puzzles and surviving in a world filled with zombies and other terrible mutations, Resident Evil 2 will definitely satisfy that itch. Metal Gear Solid not only stands as one of the best stories in gaming history, but it is also hands down one of the most influential games of all time. Its plot is riddled with philosophical and moral issues that resonate with gamers strongly in modern society. This game was the inspiration for many current conventions in its genre, and it still holds up over a decade later. Whether you're a veteran fan with an original PlayStation copy or a new Metal Gear Solid fan who's just purchased the game off the PlayStation Store, this is a game that you should be proud to own.